The October 23rd, 2023 regular city council meeting is called to order. The time is 6 p.m. Before we begin, council, please put away cell phones. If you have personal business during the meeting, please move for a recess. If you are participating telephonically, please mute your phone unless speaking. Also, when speaking, please state your name for those streaming the meeting. As a reminder to all attendees, this meeting is being streamed live. The camera is located directly in the back of the council chambers above the clock. Robert's Rules of Order is the parliamentary authority for council meetings under Wasilla Municipal Code 204090. Under this authority, I respectfully request council observe the following. Number 1, kindly seek recognition before speaking. Number 2, that no member speaks more than twice on the same motion without an affirmative vote on a motion to suspend the rules. Number 3, that no member speaks a second time until everyone who wishes to do so has spoken once. The purpose of recognizing these rules is to ensure the right to speak is equally respected and that discussion is not dominated. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard. Here. Councilmember Graham.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Velock.
Here.
Councilmember Rubio.
Here.
You do have a quorum, Madam Mayor. All council members are present with us in chambers other than Sullivan Leonard, who is participating telephonically.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Councilmember Brown, would you lead us?
Yes, ma'am. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. The first item of business is approval of the agenda. Before changes are requested, are there conflicts of interest or relationships with vendors to declare?
Madam Mayor.
Ms. Rubio.
On the agenda are AM numbers 2352 and 2354, awarding contracts to Big Dipper Construction and Battleground LLC. I want to make the public aware of my relationship with Big Dipper Construction. The company is owned by my father. He is not a member of my household, and I have no financial interest in his company.
Thank you. Are there changes to the agenda?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Johnson.
I would like to have resolution serial number 23-36, petition in the state of Alaska alcoholic beverage control issue to be moved to new agenda. I would like AM 2353, authorizing the mayor to purchase a utility vehicle off the lot, and AM number 2354, contract award to Big Dipper Construction, moved to new business so we can have some discussion. Thank you.
Is there an objection to the agenda approved as amended? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as amended. We are now at special orders of the day. The oath of office administered to incoming council members Timothy V. Johnson and Ian D. Crafton. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. I'll get you to meet me up front, please. Mhm. You guys want to be on this side? Just repeat after me. So if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I,
Aye.
say your names,
Timothy
Ian
Johnson.
Crafton,
having been duly appointed, or excuse me, having been duly elected as an official of the city of Wasilla,
having been duly elected as an official of the city of Wasilla,
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Alaska,
Constitution of the State of Alaska,
and the City of Wasilla Municipal Code,
and the City of Wasilla Municipal Code,
and that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially
and
that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially
discharge my duties as a council member
discharge my duties as a council member
for for the city of Wasilla,
for the city of Wasilla,
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations. Do you guys want to say anything, or?
Well, I want to thank those who voted for me, even though I was running basically unopposed. I will really endeavor to do the best job that I can for the city to keep the city on a good financial track, and to make sure that our community is a community that we all would love to live in and enjoy doing so. Thank you.
thank you as well to everybody that elected me. I'm looking forward to serving this community over the next 3 years.
The meeting will now recess for a 15-minute refreshment break to honor the outgoing and incoming council members. The time is 6:06. Please note, council member Crafton has assumed his seat at the dais. There is one proclamation that I will read aloud. It's the City of Wasilla Proclamation honoring Veterans Day. Whereas our great nation was founded on the belief that all Americans are created equal, that all Americans are guaranteed an inalienable right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas in 1954, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed legislation proclaiming November 11th as a day to honor all veterans of the United States Armed Forces. And whereas on Veterans Day, we honor the men and women who have answered the call to duty, selflessly sacrificing to serve our country and protect the rights of all Americans. And whereas our nation recognizes our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen who have valiantly defended American values throughout our country's history. And whereas we remember all who have given their lives in defense of freedom, and we promise to honor their memory, never taking our freedoms for granted. And whereas our community has a continuing sense of gratitude to those who have given so much in the defense of the freedoms which we all continue to enjoy. And whereas we thank our active duty military, reserve, and Alaska National Guard service members who serve to defend our nation's founding ideals, protecting the innocent and liberating the oppressed from tyranny and terror. And whereas today we take the opportunity to show gratitude to our veterans and their family members who call Alaska home, as well as the men and women still serving in the armed forces around the globe. And whereas we are grateful for the efforts, the sacrifices, and the dedication to duty of our veterans and the men and women currently serving in the armed forces. Now therefore I, Glenda D. Ledford, Mayor of the City of Wasilla, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2023 as Veterans Day in Wasilla, and ask all citizens to join me in recognizing our veterans and honoring their faithful service to our state and nation. Dated this 23rd day of October 2023. We are now at Commission and Agencies Report. Airport Advisory Commission. Public Works Director.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On Thursday, October 19th, we had our October Airport Advisory Commission meeting. It involved an update from HDL on the status of the airport master plan. Also includes some updates on the Apron E project as well as the runway restriping. We talked about the snow removal plan for this winter. There's a bit of modification because of the construction work that's going on. And then Commissioner McCabe brought some information about aircraft rescue and firefighting capabilities with the Central Valley Fire Department. And there was a member of the 6-2 fire station that talked about airport capacity and some of the airport fire trucks that exist in the valley at Palmer and at Station 5-2. There was a discussion about the threshold. Our airport would have to have 10,000 people flying in and out before the FAA would require that we have that firefighting capability, but it is something for us to plan for because there could always be an event that we need the fire department to respond. And so we're going to reach out to the fire department and just start to build those bridges about response to our airport. And that is, there was no other public comments at that meeting.
Thank you. We are now at public participation. There's one ordinance scheduled for public hearing this evening. Madam Clerk, please read the ordinance by title.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ordinance serial number 2324, amending the fiscal year 2024 budget by appropriating funds from the Curtis Menard Memorial Sports Center fund balance in the amount of $60,593.58 for emergency repairs and replacement of R22 refrigerant used by the ice rink refrigeration system.
The public hearing on ordinance serial number 2324 is now open. Anyone wishing to testify, please come forward and begin by stating your first and last name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Seeing no one, the public hearing is closed. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance serial number 23-24?
Madam Mayor, I move ordinance serial number 2324.
Is there a second?
Madam Mayor, I second that.
It's been moved by Councilmember Graham and seconded by Councilmember Velock to adopt ordinance serial number 2324. Is there discussion? Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to follow up from 2 weeks ago's discussion, our last council meeting discussion, I had asked our Director of Recreation Services to speak to funding available for the remainder of the year for repairs for the ice rink. And also, sir, if you would address the fact that one of the rooftop units had to be repaired because there were items rubbing against each other, if the repair that was done would prevent that in the future.
Through the mayor, to Councilmember Graham, follow up on your inquiry from the last meeting, I wrote a memo dated October 19th that I believe was sent out on the 20th, Friday, to council. And that kind of is a summary of right now the line item repair and maintenance 40-30. Originally the budget was $45,000. Of that $45,000, $12,500 was designated for servicing the compressor, the ice plants, and purchasing refrigerant. The 2 leaks cost us $60,000. So to cover that, right now there's approximately $1,000 in that line item because we've transferred $15,000 from other parts of my budget. So the idea here is that this will basically cover the emergency and make sure that we still have funds for the remainder of the year to do all our other traditional repair and maintenance. So in regards to the copper line that basically wore, so part of this kind of happened because we had started up the system. We're building ice. That's when we discovered the first series of leaks. Everything was stabilized. The system now was then running again. And usually in summer it runs pretty non-stop because it's fighting the outdoor temperature to maintain the concrete so that it's 20 degrees is our target. We've leak tested the system, and the intention always will be to do that first part of each year. The part that was replaced again was basically due to vibration, and just was over the 20 years that it's been there is when that pinhole leak apparently occurred. After, unfortunately, we spent a lot of money to fix the other leaks. So we've leak tested the system a second time. So right now everything has been stable. We have not lost any refrigerant, and right now we're at a really good status quo for the ice plant.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please take a roll call vote on the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Crafton.
Yes.
Councilmember Velock.
Yes.
Councilmember Rubio.
Yes.
The motion to adopt ordinance serial number 2324 passes unanimously with Councilmembers Sullivan Leonard, Graham, Johnson, Crafton, Velock, and Rubio in support.
Okay. And we are now at persons to be heard. It's a time for members of the public to share their views with the council. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the council or administration. The first one is Mr. Stearns. Please begin your testimony by stating your first and last name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Tom Stearns. I'm the Senior Ambassador for the Wasilla Area Seniors Incorporated. It's here. My, oh my, it's pie. We have a new fund development director. Her name is Heather Somerville, and she's heading this whole thing up. Our annual fall fundraiser, My Oh My It's Pie, begins at 4 November with the annual virtual auction. This ends on 17 November with pickup on the 18th for the items that you won. Go to www.wasillaceniors.com to register. And then remember that each dollar spent is helping to feed seniors in our community. We are also looking for sponsors and donors. Sponsors will be recognized in our newsletter and our social media and all of that event handouts. Donations can be made towards the overall fundraiser, or we can accept donations of items online for the online auction, and those need to be in by about the 27th of October. And then there's the pies. Purchase a My Oh My It's Pie now through 16 November, and then pick up your pie on 18 November. The pies are $30 each, but as we go into this thing, I think in the last week or so, there will be an auction of pies also. These will be specialty pies. These will be different than just the regular normal pies, and they will be really good. And then you say, well, what else is going on at Wasilla? Well, I'll tell you, coming events. That same first day, the 4th of November, and the 5th, is our annual holiday craft fair. It goes from 10 o'clock till 5 p.m. There are no tables left, so just come and get all your Christmas gear. Veterans Day, we'll have a presentation on the 10th with the Quilts of Valor. Really, really good. If you've never been to one of those, please come. We just had our annual meeting, 3 new board members, Catherine Hall, Shirley Roth, Christy Smithers, and that's enough, because I only have 1 second.
Thank you, Mr. Stearns. Tina Crawford. Please begin your testimony by stating your first and last name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is Tina Crawford. I'm here to speak against ordinance 23-21 that's under your unfinished business tonight for the reclassification of the city planner position. That item was continued and there was additional information, so I just have a few additional comments. As I stated previously, there's a misconception about the city planner position that it interprets the code. It does not. It applies the code. It reviews permits for consistency with the code. The position is primarily, at this point in time and for the last 13 years, regulatory in nature. The city planner reviews administrative permits for, again, consistency with the adopted regulations, and prepares recommendations for the planning commission or city council approvals as appropriate. Again, to restate, they do not interpret Title 16, the city code, nor Alaska statutes as was indicated in the city attorney memo. They just apply the code as written. Regulatory positions like these are typically protected classes because they make decisions that are unpopular even when they are correct and consistent with the code. That is why they're classified that way. Look at your similar classifications. For example, police officers, code compliance officers, and even the sales tax auditor for the city of Wasilla. Every decision they make for enforcement is not a favorable position. It's not something that people enjoy hearing or being contacted by them. But they are not at-will positions. They are a protected classification. And it is appropriate that they are that way. This ensures that codes are reviewed based on, again, the code language, that you get accurate, consistent, and equitable decisions and enforcement of the codes that are adopted by this city council. If the council and the mayor have concerns about the city planner's so-called discretionary and interpretation authority, amend the code to limit it, to identify what it is, what the parameters are. There are a very few things in the code, such as elevating a permit to the planning commission for review, but interpretations are authorized for the planning commission, not for the city planner. That's in your municipal code. If the council has concerns about the adopted zoning regs and people's responses to those and concerns about how it affects their development, revise the land development code using the public hearing process that allows public input. Going forward with this reclassification creates an environment where the city planner may feel undue pressure to interpret the codes to make people happy, the applicants happy, instead of applying the code as approved by this council. Therefore, I respectfully request the council deny the reclassification until such time as the planning department is vetted out with a director, a current planning manager, a long-range planning function. Then that director should be an at-will position.
Danielle Bischoff. Please begin your testimony by stating your first and last name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Good evening, my name is Danielle Bischoff and I'm here to testify against the adoption of Ordinance 2321. I appreciate the information provided in the packet, but I still believe that the adoption of this ordinance is not in the city's best interest. In answer number 1 from the city attorney, it stated that neither the mayor nor the deputy administrator have the experience in the administration and enforcement of land use laws and cannot oversee the individual discretionary decisions made by the planner without consultation with other professionals in the planning industry or legal counsel. So if there's not the expertise, then why not move it back under Public Works? If it is that the Public Works Director needs additional support in his department, I personally see a number of ways to effectively make that happen. Yes, that might mean a change that has a budgetary impact, but isn't the future development and continued growth of the city of Wasilla worth the cost of having this work be performed with technical expertise and under management that can understand these topics? Under the city attorney's response regarding at the pleasure of the mayor, it is stated that as a result, the impact of the at the pleasure of the mayor distinction between classified and managerial employees is the city's ability to quickly and efficiently dismiss and replace employees responsible for supervising and running city departments and address inefficiencies or disruptions in leadership. I disagree with the last statement that it would address inefficiencies or disruptions in leadership, but it certainly will allow the ability to quickly and efficiently dismiss and replace employees. That seems like a dangerous precedence to set for a city planner that in many times is in a position where they have to give an unpopular answer in order to uphold city code. At the last meeting, Mayor Ledford made a statement that the position may or may not be managed by the deputy administrator. If the desire is to have the position managed in the same way that it is currently managed, I would directly ask the question of administration. Madam Mayor, why are you proposing this change? Deputy Administrator Nygaard, what is your reasoning for bringing forward this legislation? Madam Mayor, I truly believe that this is not in the best interest of the city and it is not in your best interest. Functionally, what you're proposing is just an introduction of conflicts of interest, real or perceived, without a tangible benefit to the city and local development. Unfortunately, I will not be able to stay and listen to the discussion of this ordinance tonight, as I've taken away from my daughter's birthday dinner to be here to testify because I feel very strongly about this. I look forward to listening to the discussion and hearing the vote when I can listen later tonight. Lastly, as a reminder, if the council or administration doesn't like what planning is doing, change the code, not the person. I urge you to all please vote no on the adoption of this ordinance. Thank you so much for your time.
Carla? Hi.
Thank you.
Please begin your testimony by stating your first and last name, and you are limited to 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Carla Capellini, and I'm here because I received a citation from the compliance officer, and I was directed to speak with one of your employees, Tahira. I was really mistreated when I tried to explain my situation to your employee. I really disagree with the prior person that spoke here. I really would like for the mayor to have the authority to fix all the issues with employees here. I do have a strong accent, but I'm an American citizen, and I treat everybody with a lot of respect. When I came here to talk to your employee and express this is a problem, I have that citation because I have a mobile home that I'm trying to convert into a mini house for my daughter that recently got married and is pregnant. We have a crisis of housing crisis. We have several issues with the high interest rates. Housing is unaffordable for people that are young, like my daughter that is still going to college and now is a mother and she needs a place. So I moved a mobile home to my building. I got this citation. Tahira told me when I came and talked to her and explained her, well, my plan is to convert it and put it in a permanent foundation, so I'm according to your code in compliance. And she said, no, you're gonna move it or pay it $300 a day. She was very condescending with me when I tried to explain her, well, according to the Alaska law, SB 104, that is specify and clarify and was just add to assist the municipalities and bureaus to collect more taxes. They can, the description, they add part C, where it is specified there that a manufactured structure is considered a single dwelling residence if it's attached to a permanent structured foundation. So is what I tried to explain her. She did not allow me to explain her. Again, I was told in a condescending manner, no, or move it or pay it. I said again, ma'am, your website said if we are in a violation of any code or your city code, we have the right to be allowed a reasonable time to resolve this with you. I'm trying here to resolve it and you're not giving me any options. And according to the law that she's not aware of, I do have options. So I just need a permit to get approved and to review my case.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Jed Wade. Please begin your testimony by stating your first and last name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jed Wade. My brothers and I own Bear Paw River Brewing Company across the street, and we're here to comment our support for the resolution in front of you, the petition heading over to AMCO, the City of Wasilla, requesting additional restaurant or eating place licenses. A pathway was created during the last session for cities like Wasilla to ask the state for additional restaurant or eating place licenses, even if under previous law they were sort of maxed out by population. So I'm here because our business would like one of these licenses, and we would like to apply for one to the state, but of course cannot until the City of Wasilla is granted additional licenses. The premise of this, if I could boil it down, is basically what the state is allowing cities to do is borrow or account for a surrounding borough population when calculating the number of licenses that a city ought to have. And so when you look at Wasilla right now, we have 15 restaurant or eating place licenses and are not allowed any more. However, if this was approved and then went to AMCO and was approved, we would be allowed to have additional restaurant licenses in the city. The rationale, I suppose, is that many of our borough residents are eating, drinking, shopping, and participating in retail activities and doing business in the city limits. And so we're an economic hub that can justify the addition of new restaurants in Wasilla's city limits. It will grow business, allow the city opportunities to entice new businesses to come into town. If a license is available, it will create jobs, it will generate tax revenue, and I appreciate the time for you guys to let me speak. Thanks.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the council at this time? Hearing no one, persons to be heard is closed. We are now at the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please read the items for approval under the consent agenda by title.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have the regular meeting minutes, October 9, 2023. We have 2 introductions of ordinances recommended for a public hearing date on November 13th, 2023. The first is ordinance serial number 2325, amending the fiscal year 2024 budget by appropriating $165,000 from the general fund balance for additional costs of work for paving 2023-24 contract. Ordinance serial number 2326, amending the fiscal year 2024 budget by accepting and appropriating a State of Alaska legislative grant in the amount of $5 million for improvements at the Wasilla Municipal Airport. And 1AM number 2352, contract awards to Big Dipper Construction Incorporated and Battleground LLC in a combined total amount not to exceed $472,000 for road equipment with operator services for fiscal year 2024.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
Madam Mayor, so moved by Councilman Johnson.
Is there a second?
Second that, Mayor.
It's been moved by Councilmember Johnson and seconded by Councilmember Graham to approve the consent agenda as read. Is there objection to the motion? Colleen?
No objection.
Thank you. Hearing none, the motion is approved. We are now at unfinished business. Madam Clerk, please read ordinance by title.
Thank you. Ordinance serial number 2321, amending Wasilla Municipal Code 385-010B, scope to designate the position of city planner as confidential managerial. This item was postponed from the October 9th, 2023 regular city council meeting. We do have a motion on the floor to adopt.
The motion is on the floor. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Johnson?
I actually have a follow-on question to the attorney. It relates to my experience when I was essentially manager of Northwest Airlines, and I was hiring other employees that were, quote, classified as at will, but were not really classified as management. And at least at that particular time, for me to get rid of what I will call an underperforming employer or employee, it was very difficult to document unless I had a statement of cause. Now, I noticed that in your response to us, in your memo, you listed out many of the things that we had, incompetency, inefficiency, lack, blah, 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 all the way down to point 15. Is it my understanding that here in Alaska, that if you have, say, a management title or a management role, that the employer then can basically remove your job without having to show one of the causes of items 1 through 15, say due to redundancy and changing your planning organization or your organization, your whatever. Is that the way it can work here in Alaska?
Yes, but it's sort of you know, it's a little bit complicated, not so much because we're in Alaska, but because you're a public employer. And so for that reason, and it can vary in various states or in different municipalities. It's not necessary or required as a matter of law to have a grievance procedure as a municipality. Wasilla has chosen to do so. Those provisions, when you look at what constitutes a grievance, what constitutes cause for an employee, they're very, I don't think that that cause is a difficult bar. Because it has things like disobey a directive or, or not perform a duty, which could include having good customer service skills, right? Something that is more intangible or is more nebulous. What they're trying to do with the grievance procedure is provide to ensure that there is a reason and that reason is reasonable or fits within that long list of reasons, and that you have a process for vetting that reason so that the employee has an opportunity to say this wasn't a good reason or it wasn't just cause under the code. And so that process of being heard and being able to present their position, that's really the most significant aspect of the just cause provision in Wasilla. Because if you have an at-will employee in Wasilla, you also have, in Alaska, we have a good faith and fair dealing provision. And as a municipal government, and there are some lawyers that would say you can terminate anybody for any reason. But I would say that it is best practice to pay attention to the good faith and fair dealing, which means you're not making arbitrary decisions as a government manager. And that is what Wasilla has held itself to. So while the process and there's identified causes and you have a process if you are a classified employee in Wasilla, and you do not have the access to that grievance procedure if you are a managerial confidential employee, both positions, in my opinion, both positions require management not to make arbitrary or unreasonable decisions. So, but one position provides the procedure for grieving a decision by the city regarding employment, if that makes sense. So, okay, now.
So, if I may follow on, please. So you explained it in the case of an employee fairly well, and I understand that. But the issue is if the position is a more managerial role, in my experience, that the at-will portion becomes the to the benefit sort of the organization, and the organization can change its structure and make the position, say, redundant through an organizational change or whatever without having to go through a grievance process. And my question is that the same here in Alaska?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's the same for that position.
Yes.
And I think it's not just for organization, though. If you have a managerial position, and I know there's been a lot of emphasis on termination, that seems to be the main emphasis. I will say, I recommended the ordinance that's before you to the administration, not for purposes regarding dismissal or grievances, but to be consistent with reality and practice regarding the role of the planner, and to make any changes regarding classification while the position is vacant, so that anyone coming into that position has expectations regarding what is required of them, what their duties are. And so it was intended to be almost like a housekeeping ordinance to ensure that a position that is given a large amount of discretion and managerial roles is classified, or unclassified rather, as such, and is similarly situated with the other director positions that have the similar.
Thank you. No further question?
Is there further, Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the essential function, one of the essential functions of the city planner, according to the job description just provided by Ms. Nygaard, effective 5th of September of this year, is to coordinate the development of short and long-term plans by prioritizing, scheduling, and delegating tasks, coordinating efforts of consultants, citizens groups, and staff, and designing and compiling the finished product. The mayor has a tremendous amount of influence in how those duties are carried out. By saying, well, this is something I'd like to see worked on, something I'd like to see brought forward. But the city planner has the responsibility for the day-to-day enforcement and application of the code. The code is developed by the city council. The code can only be amended by the city council, can't be amended by the mayor. The mayor can certainly suggest whatever amendments he or she wants to have there, and the council will talk about it. In the case of planning, it will go through a planning commission, of which the city planner is not a member, but is an advisor to, and makes things happen there. The city planning commission is appointed by the mayor. All of the members are appointed by the mayor. The city planner is hired through a hiring process where they meet the minimum recommendations of having a bachelor's degree in urban and regional planning, civil engineering, or related field, and a minimum of 4 or more years experience in municipal planning is required, or an equivalent combination of education experience could be substituted. I don't think, currently the city planner responds to the deputy administrator, who is then responsible to the mayor. I think having that buffer there is essential to the function of city planning. For the city planner to have to respond to the, for better word, the whims of the mayor or the priorities of the mayor on an instantaneous basis is not productive in the planning business. I mean, planning is a long-term, very well thought out process that goes through a lot of different things. I mean, our own former council member Brown was on the planning commission. Council member Crafton was on the planning commission. Council member Rubio, I believe you were on the planning commission. When we have others down here, I think you were on the planning commission for a while as well, Council member Vlog. So we know that this is a long and laborious process, and it's a long and laborious process for a reason, because it deals with the code that has been developed by the city council and gets revised very infrequently by the city council, but plans come up and things come through the code to make things happen, and they go through the council, or they go through the commission, then to the council, and then to the mayor. If the city planner is having to respond to the desires of the mayor, I'll use that instead of whims, I think that sounds better that way. So if the city planner is having to respond to the desires of the mayor and is at fear of being released from her position because she did not follow a direct order, she or he did not follow a direct order, that is not a healthy relationship. That almost borders, just by definition, on an unhealthy working relationship, an unhealthy work environment, a hostile work environment, as it were. There is no need for the planner to be moved directly under the mayor. The planner has some very specific requirements to be hired, which could be waived by the mayor to put someone in, perhaps not, that doesn't meet the qualifications there, just by saying, well, they have some sort of equivalent experience. But there are some very specific things that we're looking at for a city planner. And it's not just what the job description says, it's what the council expects up front before things come onto the agenda. The council expects there to have been proper vetting, proper development, proper research, and proper work through the commission before it gets to the council and before it becomes something where code needs to be changed. The code is there so it can be applied In terms of land use planning, the city planner is the one that's responsible for making sure that the code is understood and applied. So I can't think of a single reason in the world that we would want to change that relationship now to where the mayor would have more influence over the planner than the position currently does. So to keep consistent, I think, and I think also consistent with other cities our size, to keep consistent, I think there needs to be a buffer between the mayor and the city planner. Thank you.
Ian?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First question, all the other directors on the list there are seated here with us. Would the plan be to start having our city planner with us at our council meetings going forward, if this was approved?
That's a managerial decision, but I think that it's great to have your directors seated with you. So, I mean, it seems to be but I think that not every director will be treated exactly the same in exactly the same context. We get that with compensation, right? It's a merit-based system, so you have a different experience or knowledge, but that would be a question for the mayor, whether or not the planner is at the table. It's certainly a possibility.
If you look at the flow chart, the city planner would not report to the mayor. They would report to the deputy administrator or to public works.
Mayor, sorry, that's if they become a director, they would report directly.
If they become a
So
director.
we're talking about right now. If they become a director, they would report directly to the mayor.
Right.
Yeah, and okay, so to continue on that, I would say yes. I think there are times where we have questions with the planning of the city. Instead of our deputy administrator providing our planning updates, we'd be able to hear directly from our city planner, who is very hands-on with our planning commission. So I think it'd be very beneficial if we did, if approved. I also wanted to say, the city planner, having just come from planning commission here, part of their job is to see the future development of our city, to provide recommendations to our planning commission on zone changes, comp plan updates. That's part of their job, is to help the future plan and then recommend things to the council if the council needs to implement it from there. What this would do for us is actually put an extension to an elected position. So our mayor would have, who we as the people are electing, would have the ability to utilize the city planner in the means that they need to grow the city and plan for the city like we would like to see happen. And if we don't see things happening the way we would, now we have somebody we can directly go to and potentially not re-elect if what we want to happen with the city are not happening with the city. If we're not seeing progress from our city planner at that time as well, it's also we're going to have the capability to reach directly out to our mayor and make those changes or encourage those changes. The other aspect is, I think this is the perfect time to be having this conversation because we don't have a planner in place right now. It's easier to train somebody on how we want something done than it is to train somebody we already have on how we want to have it done, if we're going to have to change things. And a lot of what I saw when I sat on planning commission was that the city planner was spending most of their time really doing paperwork, reviewing permits, and providing that information back to the public or down to the planning commission to review those permits. For an effective planner, I think it's in the title, to plan, they need to be spending more of their time working directly with the mayor, planning the future of the city. It might sound like we need to be considering a position that underneath the city planner that their job is to review the permits that are coming in, and they're doing more of the back and forth with the public when business permits are coming in, variances, etc. That would solve part of the comments that are coming forward with the fact that people believe the mayor is going to influence the planner in swaying permits, because even at the end of the day, though, they can't. They're just taking forward the code and saying this is what's required for your permits. This is how we do it. I truly believe now would be the time that we start looking at this change. I think it's a good option going forward right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Holly?
Madam Mayor?
Mayor, I just want to, excuse me.
Go ahead, Colleen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I believe this is the right time to move a planner position into the confidential manager position. Understanding how important our planning commission is as a quasi-judicial group within the city of Wasilla, I think it's prudent for the city to have them closer to the administration instead of a dividing line between planning person and the mayor. I'd rather see them working closer, more cohesively, and following the agenda that both the mayor and council have deemed within our yearly city budget with our goals and initiatives. And I think it's real important that we look at that. And that's why I do support this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Holly?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make sure that we all are on the same page when it comes to discretion, because I do think, and maybe there's an element of it that's subjective, how much discretion a person has, but I do want to make sure council understands the legal perspective on this, which is that the City of Wasilla planner has by code, by law, more discretion than honestly any other planner in any community that I work with, based on the nature and the provisions of your code. And so your job description for your city planner actually states that the planner has the ability, or must have the ability, to apply advanced planning principles and techniques to projects with a high level of independence, analysis, judgment, and discretion. So that's on page 71 of your packet. So it's in the job description itself. But in addition, you have in the planner the ability by code, so you have a provision that tells you what the planner does. You have the ability for them to identify violations and to enforce them and impose conditions upon the enforcement and make determinations about how that's enforced and, more importantly, if it's enforced. So that's one area of significant discretion. Another area you have, though, is for the permitting process in the city of Wasilla. The planner makes determinations for the use permit criteria. And they have the discretion to decide things like, is this harmonious with the neighborhood? Did we properly consider what the neighbors had to say? Do we think this is attractive and within the design goals of the city? These are concepts that are very discretionary, because what I might find harmonious or what someone else might find harmonious is, it would differ. And the planner brings to that knowledge and skill and insight that's developed from their experience, but that's very discretionary. And then they advise the Planning Commission, which is a quasi-judicial decision-making body, as Councilmember Sullivan Leonard said. So when council's making this decision, whatever decision you make, the current classification is lawful, and changing it would be more consistent with the role of the planner, but it is also lawful not to do it or lawful to do it. It's a matter of policy. But I did want to clarify that for the discussion. It is absolutely discretionary, that position.
Okay. Is there further discussion? Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So to the point that our city attorney just made, that is exactly why we don't want there to not be a buffer between the planner and the mayor. The planner brings professional opinions, opinions to which he or she has been trained to provide, trained to research, and then apply some discretion on that, not complete discretion, but some limited discretion on that, and then bring that answer back to the mayor. Let's say the mayor said, hey, we want to have a trailer park downtown, mobile home park downtown. Well, the planner could then look at the code and say, well, we can't do it unless we do this. But the planner also could say, well, that's incompatible with the uses that are going on downtown, or yes, it does provide additional low-income housing. Whatever the case may be, the planner has the professionally guided discretion to deal with that. By using that college education, and most of our planners in the past have had at least that bachelor's degree, and many have studied more than that to be in city and urban planning, and to bring that forward and to have an honest discussion with the mayor without having any sort of worry, or discussion with the council, or discussion with the commission, or for that matter, without any worry of being told, well, you're non-compliant, you're not responsive, therefore I'm going to get rid of you and put somebody in there that's going to agree with me. This is bad legislation from day one, and I certainly don't think we need to do that. If we want to have the planner report directly to somebody, then we should change our form of government to where we have a city manager, where we have a trained, competent, professional person doing that. And I'm not saying, Madam Mayor, that you're not trained and not competent, but a city planner needs to operate in a certain environment, and the environment that we're talking about here is not conducive to the city. It is conducive to making changes, short-sighted changes at that, but I mean, we've got a lot of good things going on. Every department needs work in certain areas, but as far as the job description goes and the expectations of the planner goes, the planner needs to not be in that managerial classified position. They need to be in the position that they are now. Thank you.
Elena.
Madam Mayor, I move that we put in the committee of the whole.
You're speaking out of turn, Mr. Johnson. I had called on Elena.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am definitely for this. I like the idea that the planner becomes under, as one of the directors under the mayor. I feel that when you're in a position like that, you need to own up to what is going on in the city. You need to have a daily report card, and we all know we've worked for somebody, or we continue to work for someone. We have to do our job, and somebody should be checking that and making sure if you're not doing your role, then you don't get that position, right? I think that being as one of the directors, I like the idea that Ian said, hey, the director should be sitting over there. I would be all for the planner sitting here if that's what would level the playing ground, if that makes sense. I also like the idea, remember I said that my 8-year-old needed to be able to read the code. So I understand degrees. I have a master's, I have a doctorate, and I understand the degrees that, yes, you can have a degree, but our code should not have a degree to have to read it. Period. So I think this process is awesome, and the direction that we're going is where we need to be headed, and then we know we're going to switch those codes, right? And switch that book. So I think this happened to fall in our lap, and I think that moving forward with it and making him a director designated under the mayor is the best thing that we can do at this time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor, I call the question.
The question has been called. We will now vote on The call of the question?
Madam Mayor, prior to the question being called, I had asked for a further discussion point.
Are we going into?
So if I may,
Yes.
just as the advisor to the body, Madam Mayor recognized Councilmember Sullivan Leonard, called the question. Motion was made. Is there a second? What call the question does is it immediately forces a vote. Ends debate and forces a vote. Is there a second?
Rubio seconds.
Would you like me to take a roll call vote, Madam Mayor?
Yes, please.
I assume there's objection. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard?
Yes?
Councilmember Graham?
No.
Councilmember Johnson?
No.
Councilmember Crafton?
Yes.
Councilmember Vlock?
Yes.
Councilmember Rubio?
Yes.
That motion passes, so now we're going to take an immediate vote. As a result of that, on the adoption of ordinance serial number 2321. Councilmember Graham?
No.
Councilmember Johnson?
No.
Councilmember Crafton?
Yes.
Councilmember Vlock?
Yes.
Councilmember Rubio?
Yes.
Councilmember Sullivan Leonard?
Yes.
The motion to adopt ordinance serial number 2321 passes with Councilmembers Sullivan Leonard, Crafton, Vlock, and Rubio in support. Councilmembers Graham and Johnson opposed.
Do we have
New business?
We are on. Okay, there. Madam Clerk, please read the titles under new business this evening.
Thank you. First item of business, unless there's objection from the body, we'll take them in order. That would be resolution serial number 2336, petitioning the Alaska State Alcoholic Beverage Control Board to issue up to 20 additional restaurant or eating place licenses within the city of Wasilla under Alaska Statute 04-11-405.
Okay. Is there a motion on the adoption?
Madam Mayor, I move adoption of resolution serial 23-36.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been moved by Councilmember Graham and seconded by Councilmember Johnson to approve resolution serial number 2336. Is there discussion? Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to hear a bit of a staff report on this. We have on our staff or on our payroll, I should say, we do have a lobbyist who has spent a lot of time on this issue. Obviously has discussed with other municipalities and other jurisdictions what their thoughts are. I'm assuming has spoken with the board about what their thoughts are. So I'd like to get a little bit deeper understanding of where this is going. I mean, are we just floating up a trial balloon here to see what happens, or are we following what we think is going to be best practices, or are we trying to establish best practices? I'd just like to get a little bit better reading on the philosophy behind this.
Deputy Administrator.
Thank you, Councilmember Graham. So this is not a balloon floating in the air. The city of Valdez actually put their application in last month to the board and they were accepted. What we are seeing is that the rules of engagement under AMCO have never really been in our favor. And so they have allowed us this opportunity to figure out how we can make it work for our local economy. We also have talked to quite a few restaurants that have seen not just a one-time increase in business since COVID, but they're continuing to see the locals participating as well as visitors coming through our city. And so this is really an opportunity for us to align with AMCO, get 20 additional licenses, so when that new business comes to the city or a business wants to expand, that we become a very strategic partner with them.
I may follow up on that.
Yes.
So have you fleshed out procedures now. We say we want 20, let's say they give us 10. I don't know what the ask was from Valdez, but let's say that they give us 10 and we have 12 people that apply. Have you fleshed out those procedures? Will that be a code matter? Will that be an administrative matter? How would the granting of these licenses be handled, or granting priority for these people to apply for licenses with the board?
To Councilmember Graham through the mayor. So it's not our role to establish how that procedure happens. It is up to AMCO to do that. So once they give us the authorization, and Valdez is really pioneering this, then they will set the rules that is required by the municipalities or the cities on how that process looks. And then I would assume that we would need to put legislation in front of the council to accept their recommendation. But that is really something that the board has got to decide. Right now, we're just asking for the authorization or the approval for additional license.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Johnson.
So this is in the request stage to the Alaska Bureau. Then will we get any, approval, or do we get any recommendations to whom they approve if they give us additional licenses? Or is it we apply for it, we get these vague licenses, and then each business has to go and submit the application directly, and we have no voice as to which?
Through to Councilmember Johnson through the mayor. So we're speculating based on Valdez being the first one. At the board meeting last month, when they came forward with their application, they clearly got the approval. And I'm assuming, and I have not talked to Valdez directly, but they probably have been in contact with the procedural part of AMCO on how that next step looks. But going in front of the board with their application is purely an approval by the board to assign those 20 additional REPLs to the city of Wasilla.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Is there objection to the motion? No objection, it passes. And Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Next, under new business, AM number 2353, authorizing the mayor to purchase a utility vehicle off the lot as available from dealership in the amount not to exceed $100,000.
Is there a motion to approve the AM number 23-53?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second. Councilman Crafton.
It's been moved by Councilmember Johnson and seconded by Councilmember Ian to approve the consent agenda as written.
No, ma'am.
No, not the consent
AM
agenda, to approve the AM number 2352. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So the way I'm reading it, this is a replacement vehicle for, as such, what is the condition of the vehicle that was being replaced?
Public Works.
Thank you, through the mayor. The vehicle that was replaced was a van that was surplused, so we have no vehicle currently for this. It was out of service for several years. This has been on the procurement list for sewer, so we're operating without one right now.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As long as you got the microphone in your hand over there. So we the council appropriated $200,000 for your department for vehicle purchases. This one purchase is half of that. Were you thinking that $200,000 was going to be for 3 vehicles, for 4 vehicles, for 2 vehicles? What was and I know you weren't here for that whole process, so there's certainly a lot of leeway there in that answer. But I mean, are we are we going to be able to make it through the year with the $100,000 left, or are we going to be looking for more because we're not able to buy it through the contract?
Through the mayor. So purchasing vehicles is very complicated right now. Supply and demand's all upended. The $200,000 is a financial placeholder based on the size of our fleet. So just as the police chief has to weigh his options for availability and the cost of vehicles today, we're hopeful that we could get a second vehicle within the $200,000 budget. This legislation tonight is giving us the option to find a vehicle on the lot and to purchase it. And so the idea is that we'd find one vehicle that fills the F-550 role and have the flexibility to buy it off the lot because we're not able to procure one through the state contract. As to the remaining $100,000, we would continue to fund fleet replacements this fiscal year as they become available.
And the question was, sir, is that enough, in your opinion, to make it through the rest of the fiscal year?
At this point, I believe it is, Mr.
Thank you.
Brown.
Ian?
Madam Mayor, thank you. You said it's a replacement vehicle for a van, an F-550 to a van. What are we looking to use this vehicle for?
Yes, thank you, through the mayor. So the vehicle that was surplus used to have a thawing machine on it. And so that van outlived its useful life, and so that was surplused. So this vehicle would be a replacement response vehicle for freeze events. And so it would have several pieces of equipment on it, but it'd be used for addressing service issues, mostly during the winter, but throughout the year.
So it's multi-use vehicles is the plan between that?
That'd be correct.
One more follow-up, Mayor.
Yes.
Just more of a request going forward. Could we get a little bit more information as to, like, I know it's kind of hard to anticipate what our questions are, but when we have a purchase like this, would we be able to just get, hey, this is what the plan is of the vehicle going forward?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes. Okay, got one more. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. This is AM number 2354, contract awards to Big Dipper Construction Incorporated and Battleground LLC in a combined total amount not to exceed $674,000 for utilities equipment with operator services for fiscal year 2024.
Is there a motion to approve AM number 2354?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second that.
It's been moved by Councilmember Johnson and seconded by Councilmember Velock to approve AM number 2354. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Johnson.
So on page 1 of the attachment AM 2354, it gives us a total of $674,000 and gives some words and descriptions of contract awards. On the next page, we have bids that were received in the terms of $67,000, $102,000, and $190,000. So I'm having a hard time relating between the budgetary items and what budgetary items were actually being bid for within that item, within the budget.
Public Works Director.
Thank you, through the mayor. Mr. Johnson, what you're seeing is what we call a bid tab, or total for the bid documents. The way the bid works is within the bid document, the contractors are asked to place per unit prices for different pieces of equipment. The bid tabulations are shared as is typically publicly available. And so what you can see on page 2 is that when everyone's unit prices are combined in the same manner, Big Dipper Construction is the apparent low bidder, and Battleground is the second, and Gateworks is the third. There is some propriety to the bid numbers that they used. We have those for our use. I'll just point out the difference in this year's contract is that I added the provision that up to 2 may be selected. So the request in this provision is to have the ability to contract with both Big Dipper and Battleground, depending on our needs and availabilities between both of those. But they will be, their contract prices will be adhered to by the bids that they submitted. So we have a financial interest to go with the lowest bidder as often as we can.
Follow-on question, but you still have a disconnect in that your budget total is $674,000, but your bid total, even if you were to combine all three of them, is far less than $674. So I assume that the bid contract might be for what? System repairs? What line item are we attaching the bids to, or is it the new water tower dirt works of $200,000 or what? I mean, what item are we trying to approve within this budget?
Yeah, so I apologize for any confusion this causes. This approval is doing 2 things. It is 1, approving the expenditures out of each of those accounts that you see listed on the first page. So we're asking for approval to spend up to $96,000 out of the water systems repair account, utilizing either one of the 2 lowest bidders on the second page. So you're approving expenditures from those accounts via one of the 2 contractors listed in this AM. And so these are all pre-approved projects within our budget, and we have vetted the 3 contractors based on their low bids. And so we're basically receiving dual approval right now to proceed with that work with the 2 contractors listed. Neither contractor has been guaranteed any of this work. They may be awarded up to the total. We need to get this work done, and so my proposal is to have 2 contractors to enhance our capability as we proceed with the $674,000 of budget allotment on the first page.
On a follow-on question, so you're only planning on spending $169,000 out of the $674,000?
No, Mr. Johnson, we anticipate spending all $674,000. What you're seeing on second page is how we rank the contractors. So Big Dipper came in with the lowest bid, and so it behooves us to use Big Dipper at their rate within the bid to perform as much work as possible. Battleground, having the second bid, is also an option in this proposal so that we can multiply our effectiveness as we construct $674,000 worth of infrastructure in each of those accounts.
Madam Mayor.
Ian.
Thank you.
That's not how I'd bid a project.
So just to understand this, so it sounds like you kind of just assume, or you're almost assuming here because Big Dipper, for instance, came in the lowest, they're going to come in lowest on all of these projects. Is that what you're trying to explain in a sense?
Technically, they have pre-approved their rates. So we have operator and equipment rates for a selection of different equipment. And so that is where their project agreements within each of those accounts will start for billing.
Thank you.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, Big Dipper is the lowest bidder for equipment and operator service for these projects that we're looking at. Is what you're assuming now is that Big Dipper is not going to be able to provide the number of equipment, the type of equipment, and the number of operators, and therefore you need that second one? Or are you going to have some sort of discretion there that says, well, I'm going to give this one to Battleground? I'm kind of confused there. If they,
Your question.
I know they just bid a rate, but they didn't say a guaranteed amount of availability. Is that what you're hedging on here, or?
Yes, so I guess you're asking why there are 2 selected companies this round, as in previous there's only been the lowest. Is that your question?
I'm asking, why would we not use the lowest bidder when we have always done that in the past?
Right, so the opportunity to have 2 doubles our capability of performing work. So this is specifically to utility work, and so the vision is water repairs, sewer repairs, septic tank replacements. We have a short construction period. So we have a lot of work to do. And to pre-approve 2 contractors doubles the workload that we can complete within the budgets that are approved. So it behooves us to use the most fiscally responsible contractor, which in this case would be Dipper. But to double our effectiveness, I'm asking for the opportunity to have a second pre-approved contractor so that we can get work done during the summer season.
If I may follow up, but the lowest bidder is always going to be given preference towards that job. If we've got 3 jobs going up, we're going to offer them all 3 to the lowest bidder. And if he says, well, I can only do 2, then we'll go to the second lowest bidder with the 3rd job. Is that kind of how this is stacking up?
That's my operational plan, correct? Yes.
Elena.
Madam Mayor, thanks. So I guess my first question is, has Big Dipper not been able to perform in the past, and that's why you're looking for a second bidder?
No, this is not a referendum on Big Dipper. This is knowing how many more septic tanks we'll have to do. It's going to be an unprecedented number next summer.
But have they failed on any of their jobs?
I've never put them to the task on that. I just know that I need to have as many options as possible because of the number that we need to replace.
Okay, any further discussion? Mr. Graham?
Madam Mayor, I realize this is an AM and not a resolution, but I would ask that prior to the firm, which was not the lowest bidder, being awarded a job, that the city council be advised of that at a city council meeting, and so that there could be some discussion and ensure that our bidding process does not come under question.
Chair, maybe for Holly, I'm not sure. If we adopt this, I think what you're doing is giving the Public Works the discretion. There may not be a council, I mean, the whole point, correct me if I'm wrong, is you want to be able to call on one if one is not available.
Right.
And so you may not have time to come back to the council for approval, and if we approve the AMs in their current form, that's giving you the authorization, unless I'm incorrect, to just go forward with it based on your operational needs.
I mean, what I would
Maybe I
say, under
misunderstood.
the code, you're obligated to award the contract to the lowest and most responsive bidder. And so when we award it to 2, then it makes sense that the award identifies the fact that a second more expensive company does not become the lowest and most responsive bidder until the first company has said that they are not available, because at that point, in essence, they're not responsive to the bid as presented. It's a little unusual, so we have to be flexible, but I would say, yes, I don't think requiring the department to come back is appropriate because this is the award. I do think creating clarity exactly and precisely how that interplay occurs between the most responsive bidder or the lowest responsive bidder and the bidder that will become the lowest responsive bidder is helpful to protect against any challenge that the award wasn't compliant with the code. Does that make sense? So I do think, and we can talk, outside the meeting and just make sure that to the extent we do need to identify that in the execution of a contract or an amendment, we do that. But I do, and maybe bring that back as for information purposes to council. Is that sort of maybe sort of the question you were?
That was my concern. So is that amenable to you, Mr. Graham? Just at least so you're in the loop.
That's what I was asking for, yeah. If we're not using the lowest bidder, the lowest, most responsive bidder, then the council should be aware of that any time that we take that option, so. So I'm not asking to not approve AM 2354. I'm just asking your department to put in place notification that you've got these jobs out for bid, and the lowest bidder has said that they cannot respond to that bid.
Through the mayor, I've not said that the lowest bidder cannot. What I'm trying to do is use contractors that are capable and build our capacity. So I have no fiscal interest in not using the lowest bidder if they have capacity. This is to build capacity and to build extra capacity within the city by having qualified people standing by. So I understand what you're saying, Mr. Graham. You would have liked to have known when the RFP came out that I was going to select up to 2 responsive bidders. And I understand. I'll communicate that if we do this again next time.
Just to clarify, nobody's questioning your discretion, but we certainly don't want the city's ability to contract or their procedures for contracting coming under question because we don't have the right communication in the works, so.
Colleen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I actually don't think there's an issue with the RFP process. I guess my challenge here is with the action memorandum and how it's written and how it is that we are to understand what the Public Works is wishing to convey here. And part of it is that you have a total of $674,000 highlighted in the title of your action memorandum. However, when you tear it down to what it is that you're looking at for this particular bid process, it's not a total of $674,000, it's less than that. And I think if we had just concentrated on the 2 pieces that were being bid on and agreed to by the City Public Works Director, I think we would have seen it just a little bit more clear. And then also, if we could get a copy of the RFP that was approved by Public Works along with the AM, I think that would be helpful. This came across just a little bit confusing because people are thinking that the lowest bidder was not selected, but that's not the case. What I've read here is that both the lowest bidder and the second to the lowest bidder were selected due to the fact that there's a ton of work to do and both contractors are needed for the cycle of FY23 and FY24. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. This is my understanding of this, is that let's say that we have got 25 septic tanks to replace, and we've only got, because EPA will come in and tell you that if need be. But anyway, we have got a certain amount of time to do it. Dipper will say, I can do them all in this amount of time, or I can't do them all. I can only do 20. Then we would use the other company to do the other 5. Am I correct?
You're correct, Mayor.
Ian.
Madam Mayor, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. And what Councilman Graham said, are you asking for like an IM to come through if we get, like, let's say that situation happens? Are you asking for just an information saying, hey, we had to have 5 of them replaced by the second lowest bidder? Is that what you asked?
That's exactly what I asked.
Okay, perfect. I would love to see that too as well. And I think all of us have mentioned as well how a little bit confusing the explanation was, and I think maybe just going forward we'll just say, maybe provide the example in a memo just saying, hey, this is our plan on how we do this going forward. Thank you.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none, is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, it is approved. We are now at communications. Madam Clerk, please read the item under communication by title.
Thank you. That's Planning Commission meeting minutes, September 26, 2023.
Okay. We are now at audience comments. It's a time for members of the public to share their views with the council. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the council or administration. Is there anyone present who would like to address the city council? Please begin by stating your first and last name, and you're limited to 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tina Crawford again. First off, I wanted to thank the council for all the time and attention you paid to the resolution for the job reclassification. Obviously, it didn't go how I would recommend, but I appreciate the process and I appreciate hearing the discussion because that's what that public participation rule is all about. So I think you succeeded well tonight, and I thank you for that effort. So I'll probably go, I may hit my 3 minutes, but hopefully not. One thing I just wanted to share with you. First time on the other side of the podium, not being staff, and testifying as a member of public. So I just wanted to share with you a little bit of input and kind of let you know how it goes. One thing, for me, as a certified planner, just because I resigned from a position does not mean I don't care about the public anymore. So you may see me again. I don't intend to be adversarial. What I have learned from providing comments at the last 2 meetings is I'm more empathetic and sympathetic to members of the public who don't do this on a regular basis, who have to try and put in their comments into a 3-minute segment and get everything across when they don't know what they're doing. So I would recommend that when you're dealing with major code changes, especially land use changes, I mean, obviously the city code needs to be updated. It has lots of work. There's lots of projects on the horizon. You may want to extend that public comment to 5 minutes for an ordinance that's changing land use because it does significantly impact a business owner or a resident's quality of life. And to give them that opportunity to get over the nervousness, to compile their thoughts, to not feel like they've got to time it and race through it as fast as they can in 3 minutes, I think would be greatly beneficial to that public involvement process and encourage your public to come out and participate more. I've seen the frustration over the years, and to be perfectly honest, where there are times that I was like, oh, I'm glad it's only 3 minutes because there's 20 people in the room, and the time just gets more and more. But that's what the whole process is about, is that public involvement, to give them the opportunity to share their comments with you, and I hope you'll take that into consideration, at least for your major ordinances. The minor resolutions and AMs, those things don't need that level of interaction with the public, but your ordinances do. So thank you very much.
Is there anyone else? Please begin by stating your first and last name, and you've got 3 minutes.
Yes, again, my name is Carla Capellini. I want to appreciate the opportunity that you allow me to talk on my behalf and my family's. I really wish to see that in Anchorage they're changing like the zoning and do that the problems that we're having with housing, like I mentioned before, high interest rates. I would like to see that this happening here as well, because the building codes that you have here are very strict. The code is very obsolete, and your employees sometimes they don't know how to interpret that. Like in my case, I have consult my situation with a real estate agent. I talked to an attorney that he was telling me that probably they are not reading correctly. Your planning clerk, the one I have an issue. And another important thing for me is that your employees, Mayor, they represent you. We elect you. We have you in high standards. And when we are mistreated by your clerks, your employees, it really is very difficult for us to see that. The planner, it has a lot of power in their hands to tell somebody, yes, $300 you're going to be paying a day. When they are unreasonable, and when there is no room, like your website said, that they will allow us to resolve the situation, be in compliance. There is no room for that. They just close the doors to us. They just tell us, move it or pay it. This is not the way how we want to do business with the city. We trust you. We elect you because we trust you. We know we do the best for us. I want to follow the rules, and I want to be in compliance with everything. But I want to be sure they allow us to follow the rules. They allow us the communication that is not happening. I see and I heard with other members of the community that there is a lot of issues with the planning here, and I invite them as well to come and talk to you. People don't really want to talk and express their opinion because they are afraid. They say, well, I'm asking for a permit. I'm not going to say I've been mistreated, or they don't even give me any room for speak, like it happened to me. I am a minority. I have a strong accent. Like I said to you, anybody like me can be saying like we're discriminated, because it's how I feel. I feel that because I was thinking I was in the right, and I wasn't able to explain. Thank you, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the council at this time? Hearing none, audience comments is closed. We'll bring it back to the dais. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like the council please save the dates. If you didn't see it on the clerk report, right now we're tentatively planning special meetings in December for our goals and initiatives. So save the date, December 13, 14, and 18. And once we have those confirmed, of course, we'll schedule them and then reconfirm with council. And then we will just see you all here next regular meeting, November 13th.
Okay, thank you. Madam Attorney.
No comment, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would, Carla, it was very nice to have you here today and to actually spend the whole time. That was very nice of you to do that and to give us your opinion on things. I apologize if you do feel that you are discriminated against, but your comments are not falling on deaf ears. I mean, everything that happens, like you say, in the city reflects on the administration and the council. So we are always welcome to hear what you have to say. So thank you for being here, and thank others for being here as well. I want to remind people of two different things. The Alaska Municipal League Winter Conference is coming up. I'll work with the mayor and bring forward the resolutions that will be brought forward at that, and then council members can have an opportunity to object to those or whatever, and have some sort of public input, perhaps at just a committee of the whole, and then if council action is needed, then we can work from there. But that way, we all have a say on what's going on with the Alaska Municipal League. And I also want to remind everybody that before we meet the next time, which will be, I think, the 13th, Veterans Day is November 11th. Veterans Day is, as the mayor said in her resolution or commendation there, it's a time for us to sit back and reflect upon the freedoms that we have. We certainly don't have a perfect system, not here in Wasilla, not in the state of Alaska, not in the United States of America, but we have a system where we can all speak up and we can all be heard, and we have freedoms unlike freedoms that you would experience in any other country on the world. I mean, all you got to do is travel to Canada and talk to the Canadians, and you'll go, holy smokes, how could that be that different? All I did was cross the line. But, and I'm not saying that we're better or worse than the Canadians, but everything is different, and we have a tremendous amount of freedoms here in the United States of America, which could be taken away from us at any time were it not for the actions of our active duty and our veterans. So to those of you here and those persons listening, thank you so very much for your service. It is always appreciated and always remembered every time we go to the ballot box. So please, you come Veterans Day, which is on a Saturday this weekend, come out to the wall for the Veterans Ceremony, perhaps wander around the Honor Garden over by the fire station. I did a park over there. I mean, lots of opportunities just to reflect, just for a minute. I'm not saying take a whole day, but just reflect just for a minute about the great things that your neighbors and your family members are doing. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Velock.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also want to thank everyone for coming, and even those who maybe the vote didn't go as you had hoped. Your comments were definitely taken into consideration, and never let that discourage you from coming forward. And thank you, Carla, for coming. And I'm sorry you did not have a positive experience, but we, like Councilmember Graham said, we did hear your thoughts. And again, I want to thank Councilmember Brown for his service on the council and as a veteran. And welcome Ian to the council, and that's it, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Crafton.
First, I want to start by thanking Simon as well. Thank you for your service to this city, and we hope to continue seeing you. Thank the public for coming out tonight, and Carla, I want to continue echoing what the others have said as well. We do hear it, and we love having public come down. We don't. Being as somebody that sat on the planning commission just so recently, we have so many times where no public shows up for anything, and we don't get to hear what they want to say, and all we can do is use our best judgment. So being able to hear what our public has to say about various things allows us to actually do something about it. And thank you to everybody again for putting me here. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to serving over the next 3 years, and looking forward to working with everybody here to see what we can accomplish. I did have 2 questions for our attorney. The bylaws that I had brought up during my time on the planning commission, were we able to verify if those exist or not?
Yeah, so with the bylaws, and we can talk about it too more before we, with the planning commission, but ideally the procedures for the planning commission functions and practices should be adopted via code, simply because that's the approach the city takes, and that's the delegation and enabling authority that the code gives. So the bylaws, which can be inconsistent with code provisions, that can be a problem, create vulnerability. So we want to make sure that we streamline those and work with the clerk. So in response, and just for the sake of the council and the public, the question posed was, these bylaws that govern the procedures of the planning commission, are they in line with the code? Is that lawful? Should we be governing those procedures in that way? And so the answer is the better practice is to put it directly in code so that there is clear, transparent process surrounding the adoption of those procedures, and we will be advising the commission forward in that direction and having the clerk's office to assist us with that happen.
Thank you. Just one last thing is, Madam Clerk, I guess that will kick off our conversation around our planning commission codes. We'll talk a little bit more. I'd like to look into what we can do if they would like to adopt something like that. But otherwise, I'd like to start reviewing some of their code and bring it a little bit more in line with how the council operates. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to say thank you for Simon Brown for your service to our city and certainly to our state. I appreciate all the time that you put in to public service. And also, again, welcome to Ian Crafton, new council member. I think you will enjoy the newly elected official program that they have through Alaska Municipal League. I hope you will enjoy that. And I do look forward to working with you when I'm able to attend the next meeting. Thank you so much.
Okay. Councilmember Rubio.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To piggyback on everything, thank you, Simon. It's awesome sitting next to you. Now Ian has huge shoes to fill. Good luck, Ian. I'm happy. I'm here to help you. We're both left-handed. We got this. On a side note, I love listening to the public. So we meet twice a month, right? On the Mondays. So you got to come more. Okay. Keep talking. I love it. Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councilman Brown, and congratulations, Mr. Crafton, and look forward to working for you. Thank you.
Councilman Brown. It's been my utmost pleasure to work with you. I thank you for your service, not only to our city, but to our state, our nation, and you continue to serve our state. I don't know how many of you realize, but Simon is the Brigadier General of the Alaska Defense Force. He is also head of security for the Arctic Winter Games. So he is a very busy man, but yet he always finds time for us. We appreciate you, Simon. Ian, welcome. Look forward to working with you. Mr. Johnson, look forward to your second term.
Thank you.
And the ones that are here that are city voters, thank you for your votes. Because unlike Mr. Johnson, this is my second term. But I look forward to what we're going to do, we will continue to do in this next 3 years. We have got prospects of a lot coming down the pipe because Wasilla is still the only growing city in the state, and we continue to do that. It's very evident with, we had a groundbreaking at the airport, and that is so exciting because if we can get that runway to 6,000 feet and a terminal, we'll be in like Flint, because every job that's brought to, not only to Wasilla, but to the valley, it takes one car off the road. So, with that, thank you guys all for being here. Appreciate you and the job you do, because without you, we wouldn't run the city very well. So with that, it's 8 o'clock. This meeting is adjourned.
We're also volunteering. My wife is volunteering.